Today on the Indiana Outdoors podcast, we talk about Muncie's weird UFO history and also alien abductions and theories. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Indiana Outdoors podcast. My name is Kelsey.
My name is Theo.
My name is Hayden.
And we've also got some special guests joining us on the couch today. We have Jay and Graham, and Sam is not technically on the couch, but he's here behind the camera back there. Happy Thursday, everybody. Happy midterm week.
Exciting.
How's everybody feeling?
It's
fine day.
It's not too bad.
That's
not
good.
too busy.
Yeah, not as bad as expected.
I feel like as media majors, we don't really do midterm week.
we just don't have midterms.
Yeah, I had one for an English class, but it was all right. So feeling pretty good about that. I'm excited for today's episode. Oh.
So is our squirrel?
Yeah, if you haven't noticed, our squirrel friend, we've decided his name is Horatio or Harold, whichever one you prefer, is joining us today. And he has a tinfoil hat on because today we're diving into the spooky topic of aliens and UFOs. This topic I decided to go with because last weekend I watched Close Encounters of the Third Kind for the first time. I actually only watched halfway through it, so I need to finish it. But so far it's great. So far it's great. And I did not know that it actually takes place in Muncie, Indiana, which is, where we are. And there's also some little props and things that have Ball State stuff on them, so that's cool. And I believe that also was inspired by a true story. What is going on?
Chirp, chirp.
Chirp, chirp, chirp.
Not sponsored.
Chirp, chirp. Yeah. So, anyways, I was watching that, and then I was thinking about aliens and UFOs, and I wanted to look a little bit into the history of Indiana and UFOs and aliens and whatever, because I just got down. I went on Reddit, and that's never a good idea for anything. And I discovered that Muncie has a bit of a strange UFO history. Anybody know about that previously?
1973.
Theo knows. Theo knows about it.
I read an article before coming here.
It was probably the same article that I read.
It probably was. It's in the month of October 1973. There was like...
It got crazy.
It was wild. There was like a UFO sighting every day in Muncie. It just went crazy. People just went... They saw like even an airplane and they would report it as a UFO.
Yes.
Like everything was unidentified in the sky.
Yes. So this is what we're going to talk about for the first little section of the podcast today. Oh, first of all, before we get into this, I want to gauge how do we feel about UFOs and aliens? Are we skeptics? Do we believe there's life out there?
They're real.
They're real?
I'm honestly a believer. You know, I've been watching BuzzFeed Unsolved, and
I love BuzzFeed Unsolved.
fell into a rabbit hole there.
I love BuzzFeed Unsolved. Why are you a believer? Just cause, or?
I feel like it would be almost arrogant to say that we were the only ones in the universe.
Mm.
I feel like, in a way, they're waiting for us to be approachable. You know, they're just checking on us, seeing how we're doing. We're not doing good, but they still check on us.
And we appreciate it. I would say I'm like somewhere in the middle. I agree. It's like the universe is so massive. Like there's got to be something out there. But I do think that people like to just like jump to conclusions, you know. But anyways, getting back to Muncie, it all started on October 10th, 1973, when several hundred people in Muncie reported seeing, quote, mysterious multicolored lights, and about 50 to 60 people called the police to report them. That, to me, is kind of an insane amount of people to...
Just write off.
Just make up.
Yeah. For them to all collectively decide to pretend there are aliens in the sky, I don't know. If it's several hundred people, that seems interesting.
Unless it was a giant prank.
All of
light show.
Muncie was like, get pranked, dude. We totally have
We fell for
aliens. Then on October 13th, 3 days later, 40 people called to report UFOs, and this time it was debunked by helicopters. So that one, but you know what? Maybe it was a cover-up. You never know.
The government was trying to.
The government was trying to be like, no aliens here. It's helicopters. But 40 people called to report UFOs on that night. Later on, they didn't give a date for this one, but later on, there was a woman that claimed an oblong object with bright lights had landed in a field and killed 2 cows. Rest in peace to those cows.
Yeah, I read that one. That one was.
You mean like it just like crashed and like took them out?
Well,
Like,
I don't know. I don't know if she means like it landed and the cows were just like, they just died. Like they just were like
Rest in peace.
in shock and they just like fell over, or I don't think there was a UFO crashing into cows situation.
no, aren't cows like the stereotypical animal that like
Gets
aliens
abducted.
abduct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that is true.
That might have
That might be-
something to do with it.
But
part
they
of the
didn't
origin
even
of that.
abduct them. They just killed them. That's
Sad.
rude.
They didn't even want to do any tests or anything. They just
Yeah. No
Yeah.
chill.
took 2 of our cows from us.
Maybe they didn't see him and then they landed and they were like, oh, my bad. Then on October 17th, more UFOs were reported, and a woman claimed that a UFO had landed in her backyard. And she called the police because of this, and they were convinced that something had happened because she was so absolutely terrified, and they decided like this is not a fake reaction, like something went down. So that's interesting.
Wasn't that the one where they heard strange noises, or was that a different one?
That might have been that one.
Yeah, they heard
Yeah.
like weird clicking noises or something, which is pretty terrifying
Yeah,
if that's real.
yeah. That's true. What sounds do aliens even make?
I don't know. Depends on what movie franchise you're watching.
Yeah,
Very
what's
true.
like the ET thing? Like did he talk or not?
He talked, yeah. E.T.
Yeah.
phone home, right? He
I
said that.
watched E.T. once when I was a small child, and it scared me so bad, and I haven't seen it since.
It is pretty terrifying the way that they designed him.
Yeah.
They did him dirty.
Especially I was like 5, and I couldn't handle it. It was so scary.
I think you should each give us your best alien noise.
Oh,
No.
Graham, if you didn't hear that, Graham would like us to each give our best alien noise. I can't even think of like what that would be.
Yeah, I don't know what an
Same.
alien sounds like.
That's like asking like
How about the
what
couch? You guys.
yeah, couch. Graham, come get on this microphone.
You want my best alien noise?
Yes.
No, I was gonna put you guys on the spot. No.
Well, now you put yourself on the spot.
Okay, that's much better than any of us could have hoped to do, I think.
That moment is definitely going on a YouTube short as one of the podcast highlights.
Literally. Yeah.
I'm not even gonna try to top that because that was
I don't think
Really?
any of us could.
yeah.
It'd
we
be
just
something
did
like
it.
high pitched, like
Oh, that was actually
Anyways, I think we should have Graham do our official sound effects for everything we do ever.
for Indian outdoors.
yeah.
Yeah.
Graham should leave the room.
We're scaring the children.
Anyways, UFOs in Muncie. After these events happened in October, many people in the Muncie area were completely convinced that something supernatural or spooky was taking over Muncie. And then, by the end of October, the number of UFO sightings dramatically dropped, and just like nobody really did anything else with it ever again. It was like for the month of October, everybody went crazy with UFOs. There were lights in the sky, killing cows, yada yada. And then November hit, and they were like, well,
Different month.
that's
we gotta move
over.
on.
It's not
Yeah.
spooky month anymore. So the aliens are gone.
This could be partially attributed to mass hysteria. Like, I feel like there's something there with the first case,
Yeah.
with 100 people seeing it.
Mhm.
Like, that's pretty wild.
I feel like that almost could be something that like a couple people start saying it, and everybody just kind of like hops on the bandwagon.
But they got like 60 calls to the police.
That's
in
true.
one
If
night.
anybody like simultaneously like called the police,
That'd be pretty coordinated in 1973.
yeah.
That's pretty wild.
Yeah, I was thinking like
Yeah.
they don't have like Twitter back then.
Yeah.
They can't be like, guys, we just saw like a UFO.
Yeah, imagine if they did have Twitter. That would be
The kind of posts that'd be getting them canceled today.
so. That is the history of UFOs in Muncie that I could find. That is the whole story of that wild month, October of 1973. In doing some research, I found an interesting story about alien abductions. And this is said to be, I believe, one of the first and most famous alien abduction stories. It's the story of Barney and Betty Hill. Has anybody heard of this story?
I've heard of Barney.
Me too.
Top tier show of all time.
Is this took place in 1961, which this is something that I noticed is that a lot of like the alien abduction spooky UFO stories are from like the 60s and the 70s for some reason.
No,
And
actually, I
getting
think I heard a
abducted.
conspiracy about this. Like they thought it was like the Soviets because this was like during the Cold War.
Oh.
So I thought I heard something about that. They're, maybe a little paranoid, that the Soviets are spying on them.
That certainly could have something to do with it. I also was thinking like the main height of like, the space race and everything was in like the 50s and
56.
Sometime between like
60s.
50s.
I don't know. It was all space
Until-
stuff back
Yeah.
then.
Yeah.
That was the big hype.
So maybe something with that and like, oh, like we're doing stuff with space now. And right after that, people are like, thinking of all these crazy things that could happen.
Yeah, definitely would have something to do with the whole spying situation because people were probably scared of the satellites and all that.
Yeah, that's why they had tinfoil hats.
Oh, yeah.
Like our friend Horatio/Harold here.
Harold.
But anyways, Barney and Betty Hill, their story happened in September of 1961. They took a trip to the White Mountains of New Hampshire. And on their drive home, they were driving and Betty noticed a very bright light and it was moving very erratically through the sky, and she was immediately convinced that it was a UFO. Barney, on the other hand, was skeptical. He was not convinced, and Betty basically was like, "You're crazy if you think that's a satellite or a star. It's moving like crazy through the sky." So they pulled over to the side of the road, and then they realized this is crazy. We need to get out of here. They got back in their car, and they tried to evade whatever it was. They both said they started to feel drowsy, and then all of a sudden, they're pulling into their driveway. It's around dawn, and 2 hours have passed, and they don't have any memory of what happened to them for the past 2 hours. So that's interesting. Betty was convinced it was a UFO. Again, Barney was skeptical. They visited a psychiatrist who said they both had really bad anxiety about the situation, and they underwent hypnosis a couple of times to help recount some of their memories. And the first time that they went under hypnosis, Barney remembers what he called creatures. I don't think he said anything other than they were just creatures, taking them aboard their ship and experimenting on them, on their hair and their skin and everything. And Betty recalled that she asked them something about where they were, and they gave like a cryptid answer that was like, "If you don't know where you are, we don't know who you are," or something like that. So some kind of like weird answer like that. But apparently they spoke words with the aliens. They didn't do or whatever. whatever
Literally your
Grant's
sound
noise
effects.
was.
None of those.
Yeah, none of those. They spoke words. And then during another hypnosis session, Betty drew a map of the stars as seen from a planet orbiting a star called, forgive my pronunciation, Zeta Reticuli? ? And this drawing was said to be extremely accurate. And I find it hard to believe that Betty would have like gone through the trouble of studying the stars to create this extremely accurate map. So that is the most compelling part of this case, people say, is that she just kind of like whipped out this drawing of the stars.
That is very good memory if that is genuine.
That's true. And I don't know anything about like how hypnosis works and how it like brings back your memories. I've never been hypnotized before. Couldn't tell you.
Anybody in this room been hypnotized before?
Yeah, has anybody been hypnotized?
We got no firsthand experience of
No.
hypnosis in this room.
Did anyone else used to watch those like YouTube videos? That was, you know what I'm talking
like
about?
the spiral. Like,
And it's like, oh, if you
yeah.
watch this, you're gonna like be taller or something. Oh no, maybe that's just a short person thing. That I was trying to get taller in like middle school or something.
The drawing was extremely accurate, regardless of the fact that the planet is 40 light years from Earth, which I assume means that like we don't get out there that often.
Wait, so we had drawings or like imagery like that back then?
See, that's somehow they knew that it was extremely accurate.
Because
So-
if there's no way that a regular person would have access to that.
Yeah, like could
Yeah.
the telescopes
Photo.
even like they can't see like that far away, can they? Because
Like I don't think a regular
pretty
person,
crazy.
just some average Joe, would know or be able to study up on that. Even like today, anybody could with the
Yeah.
computer, but back then, they'd have to go to like some actual
They need
astrologers,
some inner-
astronomers,
Interconnections.
whatever. They'd have to have some connections.
Yeah, that's something I hadn't thought about. That this was in the 60s, so like they would not have had access to just like looking it up and studying it. Probably,
Maybe they would have, but
maybe,
it seems unlikely because all that space stuff was fairly new.
yeah.
All that fancy space stuff.
This encounter actually led to the Air Force launching Project Blue Book, which investigated UFOs. And this project was closed in 1969, making all of the records declassified and available for examination in their research room. So I guess if you want to know about what Project Blue Book got up to, you can go to the Air Force's research room and check it out. And that kind of concludes that story. Nobody really knows did they get abducted or not, but definitely interesting.
Any skeptics? Any believers?
Yeah, thoughts on that story?
You know, with that story you told, you know, it takes a lot for a skeptic to believe something, you know? Like,
Yeah.
most of the skeptics I've met, like, they do not budge. And you said this guy, he's saying all this stuff, like, they're creatures, they're talking to him.
Yeah.
You know, like, he believes it.
Mhm.
And so that makes it more believable. I think.
So, if you're the first person to say something like that, I'm more inclined to believe you
Mm-hmm.
because, like, you're not just jumping on what other people are saying, trying
Yeah.
to get involved. And if they truly are the first people, that'd be more impressive if they managed to lie and pull that off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But it's only two people, so it's like, how much credibility do they have? But it's
Yeah.
who can say? Only they can say.
I did notice, because I read like a couple other alien abduction whatever stories, and there's a common theme of like they see something weird in the sky, or they see a weird creature or something come into their house. Then all of a sudden they're waking up hours later and they don't know what happened to them. So there's some kind of like weird memory thing that goes on supposedly, and just sounds like a really confusing situation. All in all.
The creature coming into the house would be
Yeah.
that's especially terrifying to
I
imagine that.
read something about that, about
Do they have like lock pickers on their crew?
yeah, they can just break in. That's true. How do they know how to break into a house? Maybe
Yeah.
lock your doors so you don't get abducted.
Exactly.
You know, E.T. has that
We're
like
spreading
weird finger.
fear.
What if he just like picks the lock with that? You know?
Yeah, that was the real purpose of it. That was his lock picking finger. So now after that, I want to take some time to discuss what are some different theories or explanation behind why people think they see UFOs and things. Oftentimes, a lot of sightings are debunked to be drones or weather balloons. I think weather balloons is interesting because I looked up a picture of a weather balloon and it just looks like a balloon. I don't know. I don't know how you can see that and be like, that's a spaceship.
It seems like a pretty common thing to use to debunk. At this point, it feels almost like it's overused.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, wouldn't they know if it's a weather balloon? Because wouldn't the weather people be keeping track of that? I don't know.
That's
The weather
yeah.
people.
I saw one story that was like these guys were freaking out because they saw something and there was like physical evidence because there were like burn marks in the pavement, and the police were like, it was actually just somebody set off a cherry bomb and and it just like left residue.
That's wild.
Yeah. So stuff like that. I've also seen people saying that people who think they've been abducted by aliens could just be experiencing sleep paralysis. Do we know what sleep paralysis is? I can give a.
It is terrifying.
Do
Have
have
you
any
experienced it
experiences?
before?
No, I'm afraid of it. 'Cause
I
it is,
have
like,
I have
terrifying to imagine that happening.
I have a sleep paralysis experience.
Oh,
Oh.
And everybody.
Well, you have to tell us
Oh.
now.
gotta, yeah.
It truly is, don't want to scare you, but it truly is quite terrifying. This happened to me. I had never experienced it before, and you know what? Honestly, maybe I was abducted by aliens. I don't think so. But this happened to me like a year ago,
Oh,
and it usually
geez.
happens either as you're falling asleep or as you're waking up, because I did some research on this because it was like freaking me out. So for me, it happened as I was waking up, and basically your like brain is awake, like you're aware of everything that's going on around you, but you can't move and you can't talk. So that is scary enough. But then
Yeah.
also you tend to see things, hear things, feel things that aren't actually there. So I had like a crazy, I heard some weird sounds. You know what? It sounded a lot like like Graham's alien impression. That imagine like being alone and like being awake and you can't move and you can't talk and you're hearing that. And
It's
you
terrifying.
know it's not there. Like I knew it wasn't there, but I was like, I don't know what the sound is. It sounded like weird, like underwater talking or something. It was like the craziest thing ever. My eyes were closed. Apparently you can have sleep paralysis with open eyes or closed eyes. My eyes were closed, so I didn't see anything creepy. Thank goodness.
Yeah, that is the
Yeah, that's the thing that like gets people
Yeah.
from my reading, that like you see like weird stuff. I also felt things,
Oh.
which was like really not fun. And it felt like, I sound like a crazy person. Guys, I swear this happened to me. It felt like somebody was like taking their hands and trying to like lift me up. It was just really weird. It sounded like someone was trying to like get underneath me and like lift me up. And then I'm hearing this weird like garbling noise and I'm asleep. And I also can hear that my roommate is like awake and like getting ready to like go to class. And I'm just laying there like experiencing the weirdest thing I've ever experienced in my life.
that is so terrifying.
Yeah.
How long does it last usually? Sleep paralysis.
I don't even know how long it felt like forever to me, but I truly don't know like how long it was. It could have just been like a couple minutes.
Have you ever heard of like an out of body experience? It almost sounds like something like that.
Ugh,
What is an out of like?
this is gonna scare me.
It's also called like lucid dreaming.
Oh, loose. Yeah, yeah,
If,
yeah.
if you've heard of that,
Mhm.
basically like they say like your soul like leaves your body and then you can like look down and look at your body and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Yeah.
really creepy.
Yeah, I've heard of that, and I hope it never happens to me. But a lot of like that, like lucid dreaming and sleep paralysis, people think that people experience that and think that that's some kind of like alien abduction. Which, from experience, I mean, I know that it wasn't because I had heard of sleep paralysis. I knew what it was, but I'm just picturing somebody in like the 60s or 70s that maybe they like don't know about it or don't have anywhere to like research really, and that happens to them, that you would maybe jump to the possibility of like something creepy and something paranormal or aliens or something happening to you, because it
Yeah.
does just feel like so weird.
That doesn't necessarily explain the car ones though. The people that are
Yeah.
like, outside.
Yeah, definitely. It doesn't debunk any of those. That's just a theory that I saw that people think like, oh, you just had sleep paralysis.
That would be an interesting theory.
Yeah.
Quite terrifying, though.
Mm-hmm.
I hope I never experience sleep paralysis. Hope nobody in this room experiences sleep paralysis.
I don't know if this is true, but I've been told that like sleeping on your back means like you're more likely
I've
to
heard
experience
that too,
it.
yeah.
So I had a surgery last year, and I had to lay on my back for 2 weeks. And those whole 2 weeks, I was terrified because I thought I was gonna get like sleep paralysis from that.
That's scary.
So I would wear like a sleep mask and stuff. So I'm like, okay, so if something happens, at least I won't be seeing it, you know?
Yeah.
I do have to say I'm pretty sure I was sleeping on my back when that happened to me. So
Okay.
don't sleep on your back.
We're spreading fear on the Indiana Outdoors podcast.
Does anybody else have any like theories or things that maybe you could use to explain or debunk maybe?
People lying.
That's true.
That's one thing that you could always go with. They're just
People
liars.
lying.
Yeah, you said like mass hysteria could play a part.
Definitely mass hysteria at a certain point. But like if you're one of the first people, it's like it's hard to call them liars or hysteric people because it's like I don't know.
Yeah. Definitely there's some weird things in the world and we
And
probably and out of the world. And we probably will never ever get all the answers. So with that fun note, we are out of time on the podcast.
Be sure to lock your doors tonight.
Be sure to lock your doors. Don't sleep
on your side.
Back. Yeah.
Don't
Sleep.
listen to the noise I made.
Don't listen to Graham's alien noises. Thanks so much for tuning in for our second episode of the semester. This was a really fun one. I had a good time. It was fun to talk about aliens.
Aliens are always fun to talk about.
Yes. Happy spooky season. This podcast will come out like a little bit before Halloween. If you're watching / listening to this, you're already on our YouTube channel, so just go ahead and check out our other stuff. We make cool videos and also cool podcasts. Last podcast, we talked about pumpkin spice foods. It was a good time. There were some gross ones. There were some good ones. If you want to connect to us on another platform, we do have an Instagram. We post great content on there, and I know because I'm the one that posts it. So please go check out our Instagram page. We have some fun projects coming up. We're going to Landis Farm in Indiana this Sunday, and we're going to be filming some stuff. So be on the lookout for those projects and for a bonus little podcast episode where we may or may not be doing some fun pumpkin carving and things. So be on the lookout for that. And also, don't forget, go hug a tree. You guys have to say it.
Hug a tree.
Go hug a tree.
Go hug a tree. Thank you so much for watching.